Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy Goes Keto. I'm here with Mike Collins, the sugar-free man, and he does the Quit Sugar Summit. And there's going to be a wonderful summit coming up in October. Roller coaster of sugar. What's it called, Mike?
The sugar-free or the blood sugar roller coaster. It's about hypoglycemia with Dr. Lustig and his team.
It's going to be great. So I'll put a link in his Quit Sugar Summit, and you guys can be watching for that. You can sign up. It's free, and it's going to be a lot of wonderful information and great information. So thank you so much for being here with me, Mike, today.
Always a pleasure, Dr. Cammy. Always a pleasure.
And we were talking a little bit before we started recording about a little check-in with me and some things that have been going on and that have not been going on. And one of the things, so we're just going to kind of see where we go today with this discussion. But one of the things that's been going on is that I've been eating really well. I've really enjoyed eating with a food plan that I'm keeping track of. I know that in a previous video, I had talked about going carnivore, and I do try to eat beef every day. Today, this morning, I had meatloaf for breakfast, and I'm going to have a steak for dinner. So I try to get in beef every day, but I have been adding a little bit of vegetables. Like I had some cauliflower, a little bit of cucumbers. I enjoy cucumbers, a little bit of yogurt and berries. So it's not entirely carnivore.
Sorry.
You need to get it.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And so it's not entirely carnivore, but it's pleasing me. It's keeping me feeling good. And I'm probably losing weight. I don't know. I haven't gotten on the scale, so I'm really not too worried about that. But I haven't been binging as much as I usually do. And when I do go off plan, which I did on Friday, I went off plan. I ate off plan food, but I didn't eat it all in one sitting, and the portions were much smaller. And the next day I was right back on track. And I think one of the reasons why I'm having success there is that I'm not beating myself up so bad when I do go off plan. The shame and guilt is basically leaving me. And that's been fabulous because I've lived my whole life with so much shame and so much guilt when I wasn't perfect. And so I enjoy that part of it. And I just get back on track. And it's been easier to get back on track when I'm not beating myself up over it. Because when I beat myself up over it, it's so much easier to say, well, you're such a loser. You did such a bad job. You know, you'll never be successful. You might as well go and just keep eating whatever and doing that the next day and doing it the next day or doing it in larger portions or, you know, those things. So I really like that the shame and guilt, you know, has been moving itself out and accepting that I am full of flaws and that I am human and I'm supposed to be that way and I'm not going to be perfect. And as time goes on, because this has been going on now into August, it's right around 2 years that I've been really working hard on getting myself in better shape as far as what physically, you know, through what I eat. And I'm really noticing after 2 years some success and movement in the right direction in that area.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. That's yeah, that level of acceptance is super important. I mean, you don't want to accept staying the way you are totally, but moving in the right direction is like, and that there's no perfection. I was thinking while you were talking, like, how much do you think community of like kind people has to do with that? You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of people who are struggling in isolation and they don't seem to move forward because they don't, you know. What I'm getting at is this idea that the way that you feel, any shame or guilt or anything, is identical to what everybody feels when they're trying to go through this or in general about it, you know? And we all know intellectually that it doesn't help anything. It doesn't change anything. It's just you know, this rumination, this it's like old tape, this old behavior, if you will, you know? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I don't think it has to do with your actual behavior or your food or whatever. I mean, it may have something to do with the food biochemically. I think there's a thing there. and we were talking about it earlier. We can talk about that too, but that emotional, I think more like an adulting acceptance of your humanness and acceptance in general and gratitude for that you have an opportunity to change it is a mature mindset that's required for this. You know what I mean? It's like, because if you look at depressed, I'm an idiot, I'm a jerk, I'm a bop, this bad talk, this bad self-talk, again, intellectually we know that it's not helping us any, but we still fall prey to it, whether it's biochemical in nature or it's just a pattern of rumination that repeats and repeats and repeats. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The goal is to get where you are, where, just keep moving forward in an optimistic way, and leave the pessimism behind. Again, is it biochemical? Is it like dopamine driven? Is it anchor driven? Is it trigger driven? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't think so. It doesn't. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Who
Mm-hmm.
cares? Let's just get, and that's again another adulting thing, like put on your big girl pants kind of saying or whatever. It's like, okay, you're here, but let's move forward. Again, it's not a panacea, it's not a cure all, but it is a part of an attitude shift that's required.
Absolutely. And I think that's great to bring that up because it feels like such young behavior. Like when I go and eat off plan food and I'm eating, you know, sugar laden stuff, it feels so young because when I was young, that's how I soothed myself. And so it does, and it's not an adulting type of behavior, right? When you're out eating that kind of stuff and you're off sugar and flour
Right.
and wheat and caffeine. Like for instance, I was online yesterday pricing some stuff for my cat, and I realized that it was cheaper for me to get it at Costco. And then a voice in the back of my head says, "Oh, well, over at Costco they have this and this, which were sugar laden items that you can go and get, and you're not beating yourself up anymore. So you can just go and get it and eat it, and then say." Oh, well, look, I went off plan for just these two items and now I'm back on plan, and so I was
Right.
actually almost convinced, I was like, oh yeah, I just won't have shame and guilt over it. I won't beat myself up. But then I followed the thought all the way through to the end where I was like, okay, I'm still going to be big. I still won't fit into all those cute clothes that are in the garage waiting for me. I still won't be, I'll still be unhealthy. I'll still have metabolic syndrome. I'll still have a fatty liver, all of these things. And so then that's when the adulting came in,
Right.
and I said, oh, Cammy, let's be an adult about this. Let's not go do that. And so then I ordered it online and the shipping was free. And so the the deal was done, everything was fine, but it was interesting after it was all said and done. I had a feeling. How did I feel? Part of me felt kind of let down, like, oh, I'm not going to get to go do that. But then
Right.
part of me felt really exhilarated, like, oh, look, I didn't have to go do that. So, that's the other thing is paying attention to my feelings because so much of the eating was to numb myself when I
Right.
was younger about what was going on in, a chaotic household, which was actually, you
Yeah,
know,
a couple of thoughts about that is like one of the things that we promise people, and it's obviously happening right now to you. And again, who cares how it happens? But as you get away from the stuff, the noises quiet down, and you have the ability to not do the instant gratification soothing. You can do exactly what you thought, which is to think it all the way through. It's like an alcoholic taking a drink. You may not get drunk today, but eventually, you're going to wreck your car and, get it, whatever. And so thinking it all the way through is like a luxury of 30 days or plus of no sugar. You know what I mean? No, it's not in your system. The noises are quieter and your brain is healing a little and you have the opportunity to think it all the way through, right? Again, does it matter why? No, it doesn't. But it is proven with tens of thousands of people that that's what happens when you get that space of abstinence from the product. So yeah, it's Yeah, I was going to say it becomes easier, but it does become easier because you don't have that biological need for the dopamine hit to soothe yourself, right? You don't. You've got other ways that are going on, and you've helped it,
Right.
and
Right.
you've healed up just enough, and then that keeps getting better and stronger each day and each time.
Right. And you don't need that stuff just to function normally. So that brings me to the topic we were discussing a little bit before we started taping about my caffeine,
Yeah.
because I didn't drink caffeine. Started my last drink of any type of caffeine was July 4th. And then I went until Friday, August 1st. So just, 28 days, whatever, a month. I got it out of my system. I was really grateful that I wasn't feeling really lethargic. I wasn't feeling really tired or fatigued or depressed or, I was missing it. I was missing it. I'm just drinking a lot of water and I'm probably drinking too much sparkling water, but those are the only two things that I drink and mostly regular water. And
Mm.
so on Friday, I drank 2 cups of regular coffee in the morning, and that coincidentally was the day that I went and ate a bunch of off-plan food. And then I had all this energy and I was feeling like really high and really positive and I could conquer the world and all this stuff was going on. I totally felt the difference of like 2 cups of caffeine. And in the afternoon, I drank one more cup. And then I didn't, and then I took a regular trazodone 100 milligrams to help me sleep that night because I knew I was up till about 1. And I go to bed at 9:30, folks. And so then I said, well, I'll take a trazodone. And that didn't really help me sleep all that great. So the next morning when I woke up, I was tired. And then my inner self says, well, you're tired. You need another cup of coffee. And so I put that off and put that off. And then I did finally drink another cup of coffee. And then that was Saturday. And then today's Tuesday. So I haven't had any since. But boy, am I missing it again. I am missing that coffee. So I got so high off of it. And then the craving was just lit on fire. And it's back now. And I'm just going to have to fight and tackle that, one day at a time. But I just thought it was so interesting. And so many people, as I was off of this caffeine, I'm paying attention to how many of the people I was encountering in my life when I was out on my trip visiting all my friends and stuff. Everybody drinks all this caffeine. And it's right. You need it. You're in a place, if you're drinking it every day, you need that to function normally.
Right.
And when I wasn't drinking it, I was really feeling like some freedom about it. And I think thinking a little more clearly.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it's such another, drug that doesn't get any respect to that it can create the results that you're describing. And the construct that you're describing or outlining is this: everyone else is really just trying to get back to normal. But you realized after a month of healing that it was really jazzing you up a little bit and it was affecting you. And you had to take a pill and you were up 4 hours later than you normally, things that it's actually doing to the high sensitive that you are, the sensitivity. And again, gets no respect that it could accomplish this because people started with chocolate and went to cola and then were coffee drinkers. And now they're just trying to get back to not feeling bad. They're just getting up to normal when they're drinking it out in these social situations. And the important part is for the sugar stuff is that it's common. That's a lot of people who haven't heard this part of it is this wired together, fired together, where, like I said, originally start with chocolate and cola and then tea and coffee. It's like traditionally drank used with sugar. Caffeine is usually drank used with sugar. And that the body says to it, okay, that's great. You got that. Thanks for the black coffee or whatever, but where's the sugar? And so it keeps the sugar cravings alive, thus your off-plan stuff that day. And so it's like keeps that cravings we were talking about earlier, that wired piece is disrupted again. And that new healed up neurobiology is messed up again or thrown chaos again. And then here you are, ingesting some bad stuff. It's like this is no longer rocket scientist, gang. This is no scientific science. It's not difficult to understand when you've seen so many people go through it and so many people adhere to the simple process of 100% abstinence just for a time. Look, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life. For a time, the noise quiets, the compulsions quiet, it's not, you're not fighting with yourself. Should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I, that going to the Costco thing, you're like, you don't have to, like, those discussions go away because there's no neurobiological deep limbic need for the little dopamine squirt.
Yeah. And to say, and some people, you know, they can drink a cup of coffee every now and then, or some people do really well drinking a cup of coffee every morning and they're having a great life. And they're like, hey, this is good for me. I enjoy the little pep I get from it. I don't have to drink, but for me as an addict with addict tendencies, it tends to just keep me going on whatever else it is that I can get in there, like the sugar, like, hey, I'm drinking some caffeine. What else can I get in there? The sugar. Oh, can I start thinking about having a drink? Oh, what about pot? Oh, whatever. And I just do so much better personally when I'm just clean. And so the other thing that I do is I like to think about in terms of like addiction and things is that in the morning, I really like to think about a daily reprieve. We talk about this in AA, how you get a daily reprieve. And so when I wake up in the morning, all I have to really deal with is my day to day. Because when I think about going forever without caffeine, that's too overwhelming for me. And like you said, maybe I'm not going to be like that. Maybe I'll get to a point where I can have a cup of coffee every once in a while and it doesn't bother me and it doesn't turn the craving on like wildfire like it did just, recently. Mm-hmm. But a daily reprieve and just keeping an eye on the fact that I'm working on today. And I think that's why my food plan has been so helpful, because when I wake up in the morning, I don't even have to think about what I'm going to eat for the day. I look at my food plan, and because the night before I've written my food plan, I've thought about how my day's going to go, what scheduling, what do I have going on? Do I need to have a lunch that can go, like a meat and cheese roll up because I'm going to be on the driving or going from appointment to appointment. And so then the next night I do the same thing. And then the next day, I don't really have to think about what I'm going to eat. I pay attention to what's in the refrigerator. Like this morning, I had to go and buy something at the store before we started taping so that I have it ready for lunch. And then it just runs so much smoother and it's so much easier. And like you said, getting rid of the sugar and the caffeine and those things, it quiets the noise. Yeah. So I have so many voices in the back going, "Da, da, 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 da. What about this? What about this? Oh, you just drove by here. What about this? What about this? You're hungry. Oh, you need some energy. Sugar will fix that. Oh, all those things that the crazy voices would say, they're quiet now. And it's interesting even in that respect, because I feel like they're waiting. Like they're in the back. They're in the
parking
back
lot doing push-ups, as they say in the
yeah, they're in the parking lot and they're like, okay, that's okay, Cammy, go and do your thing. Oh, go and do your thing. We'll just wait till you're ready for us. We'll just wait till you're ready. And I don't know how long it's going to take until that feeling goes away. That's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
It does. Take my word for it. It does.
It does go away.
It becomes it's just not a thing. It's like you don't even, like air, like oxygen, you don't think, is there enough oxygen? Is there enough oxygen? You don't have that thought. Like, that's not a thought. That's the same way it gets to that point,
Well, that's refreshing to hear. I'm really happy to hear that.
No, it absolutely does. It takes a while.
Yeah, I'm thinking it would take a while because it took decades to get me here.
Yeah.
To be
You're healing your brain. You're changing the neurobiology, the neural pathways in your brain that create the self-soothing. So it takes some time. Literally, I mean, I like I don't know how true they are, but I don't know what is like, the skin, 7 years, all your skin is
oh yeah, all of the molecules turn
all
over.
The molecules are changed. The same thing in your brain, I think. You know what I mean? It's like you've changed the whole wiring structure of the brain. Whatever's left is healed up, and so I believe it. And we were talking about that before. This kind of what causes it, how is it happening, how do you accelerate it, and all those kind of things we were talking about with NLP and neural, grooving. new neural pathways by abstinence and that kind of thing, which is all super fascinating. But in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter because we have proven time and time again, tens of thousands of people, that if you adhere to this simple program, then you get the results that you're looking for, that you've studied about, that you've attempted different ways 100 times by 100% abstinence from these quote unquote legal drugs. So yeah, it's it seems too simple, right? Now it's not during the process because the process is kind of nasty in the early days, not after a while, just early on when the cravings are there and all that. But after a while, it's an easy process, not a simple process. Oh, wait, yeah, it's a simple process, not an easy process. Physically, emotionally,
Yeah, yeah,
mentally, it's not. Yeah,
yeah. And what I seem to have been good at over the last couple of years is just kind of continuing the craving by not being able to be completely abstinent for a long enough period of time.
correct.
And so I'll be off the sugar and flour and wheat and caffeine, and I'll do it for 3 weeks and I'll do great, and then I have a slip up, and then this binge eating comes into place, and there's such an emotional attachment to that binge eating for me because I have this idea. I'm trying to shift away from this idea that like it literally saved my life when my second son passed away,
Mm.
and I just drowned myself in this sugar every night. I had this whole ritual. It was very intricate and detailed. I could write a book about how I would binge. And then I'm starting to try to think, well, yes, that did soothe me and comfort me, but, or I like the word and, there were many other things that I was doing to help myself get through that. And I have to remember that because I had in my mind, this vision like, oh, the only thing that kept me alive during that time, literally from killing myself or things. Well, my two remaining sons, I had to raise them, and that really is what kept me alive.
Mm.
But, is my sugar at night, and that was my only comfort and my only this and that. And it really was a big part of my survival, I think. But it's not that way now, right? Like
Correct.
what it's doing now, it's not saving my life, it's slowly killing me. And it is something that I need to just let go of. And I need to say, yeah, well, maybe then it was very important in my life to help me survive. But it wasn't, I don't think, as important as I have it in my mind. The disease like makes it this big, grandiose thing. And
Yeah.
oh, it's just so huge. It's so wonderful. It was sparkly and pretty and pink and unicorns and ponytails. And, it's just, really wasn't. It was still kind of a terrible bad thing back at that time that I was doing to myself, but I was surviving with it.
Yeah.
So just, a different mindset, like shifting your mind a little bit about what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's our lot in life, mine and yours now is like to help shift the perception of what it really is, that it's okay. Is it neurobiology? Probably a lot of it. Is it attitude? Yeah, sure, it's part of it. But the cure, quote unquote, is just to try the abstinence part of it and to see where you heal. One of the things that I think we might want to talk about is this slips are planned kind of idea, this
Mm-hmm.
addicts have a back door kind of idea. Part of the problem I've always said about the diets in general and detoxes in general is this idea that, someday you will go back to not a not the same way they used to use sugar or whatever, but a much improved way. Like you'll have an opportunity one day to return. Most people come to me, they just want to learn to not use it in a bad way where it makes, has them gain weight and have diseases and stuff. They just want to be, the term that's always thrown out is normal. And they believe that normal is like thin people are normal somehow, right? They have this misperception that thin people are normal. When in reality, a great majority of them have, pre-diabetes, metabolic syndrome. I mean, I don't know how many people, if 92%, this is a true statistic, 92% of people have some symptoms of or have a metabolic syndrome. Only 8% of the entire country is metabolically healthy. That includes prediabetes, diabetes, fatty liver, all these kind of things. It doesn't matter their weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so people want to get into that 8% somehow without taking this reset, without trying to see what happens when a product that probably wasn't meant for the human body in 1.5 million years of evolution, it only started in the human body 10,000 years ago, like literally a second in a year, or a minute, not even a minute in a year. Like, could they just try it? Could they just try to be just a time out for a time and see what happens? Yes, society believes, or by default, in the food system and the advertising and the merchants, that's what's going on. But you have to be a little contrarian. You have to move to the other side to see if it works for you. So we try and my struggle for the last 15 years is trying to deliver this message so that people, it lights on you and then gets involved, gets in you, so you understand it. And it's been difficult because nobody wants to be different in this way. That's the hard part. Nobody wants to be, until you get really in the middle of it, then you become a radical. You're like, or you appear to the 98% of the rest of the population as radical, or obsessed, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When it's
Mm-hmm.
not true, if you look at it scientifically, for sure, but even if you look at it in a health or mental health and physical health way, it's not that radical of an attempt or a behavioral change.
Yeah, well, I still get overwhelmed when I think about all of that. So I still like to stick to my one day at a time, like just for today, like just for this meal, just for the next 6 hours. The other thing that we haven't really touched upon in this video that I did want to mention was the group support and how important that is.
Right.
Because just sitting in a room of like-minded individuals with sugar and flour and caffeine and the wheat, and understanding that they go through the same struggles. And I do that through multiple ways right now. I'm doing it through my sugar addiction classes that I do with through Mike Collins's program, and his 30-day sugar day. 30-day is something I highly recommend for people who are trying to start through this. And I also think it's a good idea to have a personal coach, of which I am one, as you go through that thing, because I've kind of been there and done that. And yeah, I'm not perfect yet, but I'm getting better and better every day. And so that's a really important thing. And then I also go to Overeaters Anonymous Zoom meetings, and that's been really, really helpful too. There's a wonderful group of us in San Diego that are doing that. And I also go to my AA meetings. And so, I'm just and I do it Zoom and I do it live. And so I do a lot of that on a daily basis to try to keep myself in that conversation of, being healthy and being abstinent and being sober.
Yeah.
And the group, I can't say enough about how the group support is really important and really vital and really probably necessary.
100%. Yeah. One thing I wanted to say about your, I do tend to get a little philosophical and try and big picture it, with the struggles that we've had trying to get this message out. But, your concept of, you only got to worry about today. That's the important day, this one day at a time. And the group thing is so important because it gets you with those like-minded people. I like to consider us rebels a little bit, and rebels in a positive way, good rebels, and people that are, and when you start talking with people, most important is that, a lot of people, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but people feel in their isolation that they're the only ones that struggle in this way. They're the only ones that have these crazy thoughts of, whatever, having a, binge and eat all this stuff, and they're like so horrified at their behavior. And then when they meet like 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 people who have done, and maybe worse, the same stuff, then all of a sudden it's just, and then they're trying to change that. There's this peace that comes over you that God, I'm not alone. It's not that, it's not, I'm not the weirdo. I'm not the outlier, the person who's just so different than the rest of society. But that there's a lot of people struggling in the same exact ways. Some is a little, everybody's got a little different flavor they like, but they're still doing the same behavior. And and when they see that, when you feel that, there's a lot of proven science around this too, but when you see that and when you feel that, you're able to, put behind you exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode is this, I'm such a jerk, I'm such a this, I'm such a that. And when the more space you get between it, when you combine abstinence and hanging with groups of people who are doing it, you start to think, I can change all this. I can get better at all this. This can, because I've seen now other people who are a little ahead of me get, it's happened to them and they weighed the same as me and they had the same health issues as me and now they're better. And it's this kind of evolution. It's work. Let's be honest. There's work to it. And most of it is that he can't use his name anymore because he got disgraced. But that Woody Allen thing is like, it's mostly just showing up for yourself, really, but showing up in these situations, these groups, these communities, these educational processes in a way that is not like the past. It's different.
Yeah. So everybody work on showing up and everybody work on trying to take it one day at a time and think about a food plan and keep coming back.
Yep. Keep coming back, gang. That's a one. I've been tempted always to do a in-depth deep dive into these short, and these all, to be honest, originated in the 12 step. These keep it simple, stupid, easy does it one day at a time, keep coming back. These little trite sounding sayings that have a lot of depth to them, really. They just, people, they spout them off and we were talking earlier about the programming of the mind, the changing of what you thought before, and keep coming back is one of them. It's like there's no failure in this. I was often thinking about you earlier. You were talking about the 2 years, and I was thinking the thing that came to mind is you fell forward, 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 5.5 feet falling forward. Just
I
kept
have. That's a
falling.
really good way to think of it.
It's like, okay, you didn't fall backwards. He fell forward and he fell forward. And people
Yeah,
just,
over time, you can see the forward progression. But
right.
when you're in it, you're
You're in it.
falling back. You're falling back right onto
Feels
your.
like you're falling back,
Yeah, it does. It feels like you're falling back. That's right.
but you're really falling forward because the next day you read something, you go to a meeting, you're abstinent that day. You're just keeping going forward.
Right.
I think the part that is a hangover from the diet industry that there is a quick fix to this, that you can do 30 days and then you're done, or you can eat this pill or this shake or something and be done, or just add the pill or the shake to your already existing normal. But it's not going to happen that way. I don't mean to break that bubble or talk too much about personal responsibility, but there is some work to it, and the work is, like I said, mostly showing up. Because if you show up, fall forward, you're going to get there, and never quit. Never quit.
Never quit. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to another wonderful episode. And thank you so much, Mike. And we'll see
Thank you
y'all
for
next
having me.
time.
Always a pleasure. See you.
Bye.